No. Ca seria. Rtash. Di amor. Se. No.
With any score, from any composer, at any point in time, musicians have a bit of an excavation job to do. We get the skeleton of the piece. We know that a composer wants a certain dynamic at this moment, wants a certain articulation on this note, asks for certain kinds of emotional colors, perhaps, or a pause here, a fermata there, a certain tempo mark, maybe even a metronome mark, depending on when the piece was written. But with any piece, our job then becomes how we translate all of these markings on the page and turn them into something that lives and breathes, finding the emotional reason behind all of those things that are written on the page. When we have the privilege of working with a living composer, then we get to go that next step to really try to enter into dialogue with the composer and find even more specificity in creating exactly what that person has imagined. And so in my work with Helmut Lachenmann on this piece, both before Marlboro, we had a marathon, I think 3-hour Zoom session, and then also in the wonderful days that we got to spend together, it really was trying to take the immense amount of work that Sam and I had put in on this piece and really try to capture exactly what Helmut was imagining. And so in some cases that was, from my standpoint, really refining the kinds of extended vocal techniques that Lachenmann asks for, or really capturing the mood that he's looking for, exploring the text in the way that was really envisioning, and on the part of Sam, finding even more specificity, again, in so much of the score itself is immensely complicated, but the complication is there for a very good reason. I always felt that with every single thing that Helmut was asking of us, there was such magic in finding exactly the color that he had been imagining. When that came into place, all of a sudden, the shifting kaleidoscope would lock in again for another moment before it would move and we would find yet another color. I have performed quite a lot of challenging music in my life, but this piece definitely ranks right on up there amongst the most difficult. And it's difficult for a number of different reasons. It's difficult because Lachenmann is asking for such specificity in the piece. So just the process of preparing the score is very difficult. And the way that Lachenmann has chosen to notate the piece also takes a little bit of deciphering. It feels a little bit like putting together a puzzle as you're looking at traversing multiple staves that have different kinds of information on them, and also parsing out his notation, which is a little bit different. So he has certain signs for different kinds of sounds, and you have to become fluent with understanding those special signs within the music to be able to read the page in a fluent manner. It's also rhythmically very complicated, and you'll hear Sam and I putting together very complex, very fast rhythms that rely on very intricate clockwork between the two of us. Then beyond that, we're both asked to do some pretty unusual things with our voices. Both of us, Sam also has to vocalize, and in general with our instruments. So you'll see Sam using some children's toys and other elements to also play the piano and create special kinds of sounds. You'll hear me approximating some of those sounds with my voice. You'll see me leaning into the piano and coming back out again to play with resonance in the instrument. And you'll also hear and see me making some unusual sounds with my tongue and with my face. I don't want to spoil too many of them because I think that element of surprise is a really fun part of this piece. One of the other things that I love about this piece is that this piece is it's a seriously funny piece, as in there is a huge amount of rigor and so much work that went into creating this piece and bringing Lachenmann's vision for this work to life. But it's also a very funny piece.
My passion for chamber music and the repertoire goes really way back, and I've always dreamt to be a string quartet musician in my life and play music with all my friends as a living. That was always my ideal. So being invited to Marlboro was such a unique and special opportunity for me to play with chamber musicians of the highest level in a unique place that is so remote and so peaceful like Marlboro. And what I've definitely taken away over the past 3 years is having had the chance to slow down, study the score together, discuss all these beautiful interpretations that everyone brings with them. Everyone comes in with such a highly dedicated and passionate attitude. And so what I think is the most special thing that I've taken from Marlboro is the work and the performances that we have presented that really represent this unique combination of artists coming together and sharing their vision. And the result is never a compromise, but actually much more a synthesis of these different unique voices that come together to make music. And having gone in depth, creating something that is very difficult to recreate in the regular world, where often concerts happen at a much faster pace. So this is really something that I cherish for my entire life. When it comes to approaching the music of Mozart and Haydn, which is so integral and fundamental to the chamber music repertoire, there are two things that are most important to me. The first one is, of course, learning and approaching the style, understanding the articulations, the phrasing, the inspiration that the music was drawn from, understanding the historical context of the music that was written at that time by these composers. And the second thing that might be even more important to me is not forgetting that even composers like Mozart and Haydn were still real human beings embedded in the society and the times that they lived in, and also these works being partially a representation of where they were in their lives when writing these pieces. And so to me it's very exciting to do the work, the emotional work of trying to get into their heads and understanding what moved them to write the music that they did, why they wrote certain phrases a certain way, why they made certain compositional choices. And I think that is really the fastest way to understanding the music, is to try to get into a personal dialogue with these composers and understand from what human perspective they're coming from and what emotional qualities they're trying to communicate with their music. Two of the other projects that I'm really looking forward to this season are both taking place in June. The first one will be with the Chamber Orchestra of Europe in Vail at the Vail Music Festival in Colorado, where I will be serving as concertmaster, playing with Matthias Pincher conducting, and Yefim Bronfman playing two of the Brahms piano concertos, and Blake Pulio and Elisa Wallerstein performing the Brahms double concerto, which is really one of my favorite pieces of music of all time, as well as two Haydn symphonies, Stravinsky's Dumbarton Oaks, and other works. So that's going to be really exciting. I love exploring the symphonic repertoire in an intimate setting like a chamber orchestra, and so this is a great opportunity to do that. And the second thing will be a chamber music concert in Seoul, in the Seoul Art Center, where we will be performing Beethoven's Ghost Trio, as well as a more recent work by Suki Kang, the Fantasy for Violin and Piano, which I'm very excited about learning and performing. At the risk of sounding somewhat corny, I do think that Marlborough is really a beautiful place to even spend time off in Vermont. I had the opportunity to spend a winter residency with the Marlborough Music Festival this February with my string quartet, and it was a winter wonderland to be able to enjoy the nature, the mountains, and to be able to just spontaneously go on a hiking trail in the woods and exploring all that the Vermont nature has to offer is one of the most regenerative and recuperating things that I have done in recency, and so I can only recommend doing that even when you don't attend a music festival there. Of course, I love driving around Vermont and also enjoying the local eats. There's so much amazing maple flavored food in Vermont that I personally love. I have somewhat of a sweet tooth. So yeah, I think spending time in a remote place like Marlborough is really the best thing that I can see myself doing if I have time off.